During that time, we have had a pre-election policy from the ACT Party. And I thought this whole lot,
From our new education spokesperson, it seems, from the ACT Party as well.
and we will get onto that. But I mean, we quite often talk about curriculum taking us back to the 1970s. We have got a real life bona fide. I mean, this will be the closest agenda that we have come back to bringing corporal punishment back into schools. But as you said, it has come from the well-renowned education expert Paul Henry. I thought he was going to be the kind of broadcast guy, but he's also education.
Yeah, it seems. I mean, maybe that's sort of like how it works in the world of education. If you're a sweet communicator, they're going to wheel you in. So it was definitely a piece of communication, wasn't it? It was. The only way I can sum it up is it's a race to the bottom in the land of shock jock politics. It's sort of. On one hand, I felt like saying it beggars belief, but it sort of doesn't when you look at the people that sits, particularly our last recruits that are starting to step up in this space, and the high profile one. Like the language he was using, it was one thing to see it quoted. It was another thing to see him actually say it on the reporting in the news. Just going, what planet are we on where it's okay to talk about young people like this?
But to also jump into the various different news articles thinking, cool, there must be a little bit of substance beneath the headline. And finding out, actually, it's not. It is literally this kind of like cartoon perception of what teaching and learning looks like. Where if you've got a classroom of 30 incredibly attentive students and that one kid who's calling out walks in, grabs them by the ear and marches them out. And this is picked up on, I guess, for educators and people that work with young people and genuinely try to understand student motivation and how that...
Yes, yeah.
The language is horrific. It talks about as if all of these actions from kids aren't kind of involuntary reflexes, how they're presenting, and that you can just go, well, you made that choice and therefore you are out.
Righto, Sonny.
Yeah, that's right. And often we talk about some of the kind of politics that sits behind what's going on in education, and it feels like this is another one of those announcements where it's trying to kind of pitch a bit of red meat in New Zealand politics, and as a result, it's just completely devoid of like any educational value.
It's the tough on crime of education policies, like this idea that, tough consequences and zero tolerance and mandatory consequences is somehow going to raise, the standards of behavior. And the thing I worry about is all of this is happening at the same time as we've just got a absolute perfect storm of, cost of living crisis, all of these stresses, young people coming through with trauma, all of these things. We've got a curriculum that seems to be ramping up and is becoming more regulated. We're going to have qualifications where the goalposts seem to have shifted and going to be tougher. I mean, how unappealing do we want to make schools for our young people? And not only unappealing, we want to make them unsafe. Like the irony that they think this is about making our schools safer, when I couldn't actually think of a more dangerous policy. Because, part of me goes, hang on a minute, they're not serious. This is pure clickbait politics, pure opportunist shock jock. Let's say something shocking and get some of our very, conservative voters in behind us because, they'll be heartened to think that we have high standards and consequences. But then another part of me goes, heck, we've been here before. We've been here before where minor parties with very little percentage of voting end up wielding huge amounts of power. Like when you think about the Education Act and the changes to the education and the reforms and the stuff around charter schools, a lot of the system reform bill came from our minor parties. So it's not actually outlandish. And that's the thing that makes it less funny and really, really worrying, because if this is our direction of travel,
Yeah, that's right.
you know.
And for me, I'm always interested in the kind of underlying values that this is speaking to, because it does present itself as this idea that kind of education is purely an individual need and therefore should be kept for those people that can be complicit and follow along. And we assert that with the same investment in broad strokes in learning support, where there is this kind of temptation to walk away from mainstream schooling, which has been a pretty kind of settled direction of travel for a long time. And for those kids that can't hack it, they're just going to be taken out of classrooms and placed in alternative systems. And as somebody that comes from primary school, that's really scary.
The disconnection. Yeah.
Are talking about removing kids at such a young age. And you mentioned quite rightly around the kind of disproportionate power that minor parents, and we quite often laugh at.
Like, we can't actually treat it as a joke.
No, that's right. I'm not anywhere near enough wood to think whether or not this might actually happen if there was a change of government. But the kind of saving grace there is that I'm just not bumping into loads of educators whose top gripe is that they would have loved to have put their hands on kids more than they're legally able to. It's just not something that we come across. And if you are ever in a position where you are having to restrain a child, educators come to that with a huge amount of empathy, thinking lots about the mana of the child, the safety of all of the kids in whole. This isn't something that we want to end up where we are just physically restraining kids on a whim, which is actually why the ACT Party might be quite surprised to know that actually we do already have legislative processes in place. And what sits with them is educators within every school being trained. I mean, I'm telling people that already know this. I mean, it is really hard to identify what's new in here other than this like general messaging out to the public that teachers should be able to manhandle kids more.
Yeah. And there's sort of language around zero tolerance and consequences, and it's just exhaustingly archaic. And I don't know. I sort of feel like actually his language as well. I know it sounds a bit precious, but the way he talked about young people today
Really
can't be accepted. Can't be accepted. And I feel like it's just been reported. It's like, really?
Who is the ACT Party spokesperson for education?
The ACT, well, I don't know anymore, actually. I mean, wasn't it David Seymour? Isn't he our Associate Minister of Education? Interesting choice. I'm not sure what this suggests. Is this Paul Henry's new role? Is he angling to take on that role in the future? Lord knows, and it makes me really worried. But also, do you know what made me really sad? Is this came the day after Dr. Claire Ahmad finished as the Children's Commissioner, and I sat there thinking, gosh, I know who would have had a swift comment about this policy.
Yeah, that's right. Imagine not being reappointed to your role because you were wanting to do something about child poverty and that was kind of inconvenient. Worrying.
Yeah. I think, I sort of, all I can say is how much I admire Dr. Claire Ahmad and the work that she did in that Children's Commissioner. And quite frankly, if she was active in that role, and she may come out individually and make a comment anyway, I have no doubt that she would be absolutely horrified. This will be an interesting measure of our new commissioner that started today, I believe. So if Claire was exiting on Saturday, we must have our new commissioner starting. But that's a story for another time. We'll see how she lands. And she's got an incredible background, so don't get me wrong. I'm sure she'll be fantastic in that role as well. But interesting timing, my friend. But talking about timing, Tomorrow is the last day of the Phase 5 subject consultation for Group 3 subjects. I feel like this has been sort of dribbling along. I don't know how many of my secondary colleagues have engaged. I hope they have. shout out again to Dr. Claire Coleman, who has been ticking away at those webinars over on our AEC Substack and trying to get the right people in the room online, talking about each of the subject areas and helping people give some informed feedback. But it comes to a close tomorrow. I do wonder, I feel like there's some subjects that we're still waiting on. Of course, we've got outdoor education. That was a last cab off the rank because we had, lo and behold, we actually had an example of the minister listening, it seems, to our educators. So I guess we've got to give credit where credit is due. So fantastic to see some listening and some action happening. And all I can hope for is this is the sign of things to come, because, I know from my teachers in my school and the educators that I've talked to, they've been giving some really robust feedback about overcrowded curriculum, just too much in it, and not leaving space for creativity. So here's hoping we've turned a corner in terms of listening,
Yeah,
the practitioner feedback and acting on it.
Yeah, just speaking to that, did you see on TVNZ at the start of the week they had that kind of 10-minute? It was kind of like a kind of mini documentary in the 6 o'clock news around
about
the kind
the
of
secondary curriculum so far. Yeah. It was the hidden teachers, mystery teachers, and and it was interesting, wasn't it? I mean, I think, like, I saw some people reacting going, oh, all that was a bunch of anonymous teachers complaining. But actually, if you took the time to listen, the feedback they were giving was really nuanced. It wasn't a pile-on. It was talking about, the desire to get this stuff right and the need for us to actually take a breath, take a beat, slow it down, listen to the subject experts and refine, what we've been presented with. Because as it sits at the moment, a really overcrowded curriculum, nervousness about the sense that, gosh, I'm getting tired of the word mandate. Like Paul Henry was talking about mandated stand downs. Everything's mandated. I feel like if there's one thing we could change to improve our reforms, it's the removal of the word mandate. Because at the end of the day, it's not all bad. Like, structured literacy is one good way of doing things. But, investing in textbooks, another good way of doing things. We needed these senior curriculum documents. We absolutely did. Like, we've had this weird thing in senior secondary where we've had learning areas, and then NCEA has basically become the proxy for senior subjects. So I'm absolutely all in on the development of senior secondary phase 5 subjects. What I worry about is the pace. And I felt like that was the message that came through time and time, was the pace and the sheer volume of the content. Is that how you're feeling with your curriculum documents at your levels?
Yeah, I guess one of the things that I thought was particularly interesting about the feedback that came out of, I think, the 4 people that they interviewed, was that each of those people had really in-depth knowledge around their particular part of the curriculum. It wasn't like kind of 4 people saying the same kind of high-level feedback.
No, not at all.
They could relate it back to their particular area. And I think you're quite right about the removal of mandating, because what that leaves is space for teachers and principals to exercise their professional judgment.
Yeah.
Whenever we do get a government that is really keen to kind of turn the corner on mandate data, I think we've just got to be super aware that just removing the mandates creates a vacuum. And doing things at the same time to strengthen the ability of the profession to move into that space to be able to kind of lead, then I think we do have issues. And I think that we should find space to actually have that conversation around how you kind of build and strengthen the teaching profession. Because I think there's lots of there are lots of easy things that we point to around democratically elected teaching council. But actually, I think that sits at quite a kind of high level off to the side. What I'm really interested in, how do you build that curriculum and pedagogy and leadership expertise within each school And that's where it's really important that we are making changes in the way that we build career pathways within the teaching profession.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about this, but yeah, that idea around just taking out mandates, I think leaves that vacuum. And I think that's what we got wrong when we removed national standards from primary schools. There was this kind of like massive vacuum around, so what do we do now?
Yeah.
I don't think it is enough just to be able to say, well, now you go back to running localized curriculum. You've actually got to build a teaching profession that's kind of capable of meeting that moment as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably an area where the previous government fell short.
Yeah, it's still looking for that sweet middle ground, isn't it? It's sort of like trying to find out where it is rather than going from that absence to feeling like it's over the top, over full, over mandated. But actually, you just made a comment that made me realize something we forgot to put on our list. The Teaching Council. So we've got the final members of the Teaching Council has been appointed. Patrick Walsh, congratulations, is confirmed as the chair of the Teaching Council, and they now have a full suite of members. Is the deputy chair one of the new appointees?
Yeah, so Andrea Atkinson, so she was appointed by in the last round by the current minister. And because I've gone through such a big reshuffle, and I think they're technically a new council, she's been promoted to deputy chair. She's also on the board of NZQA as well. She's one of the lay people. She's got a finance background.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so, yeah, the new deputy.
I mean, that's always been, there's always been at least one person with that kind of background. Well, at least there was in the time that I was there.
Have they ever been in the kind of deputy chair role?
No, not that I remember. Like when I mean, we had Anthony Mackay as our deputy chair when we turned into the Education Council. I can't remember who was the deputy chair before that. But we've also got a new CE. I'm not actually too familiar with him. Do you know his background and his work?
Yeah, I think that he comes from the Polytech.
Oh, okay.
I mean, he's got a particularly impressive CV, and so it's going to be really.
It wasn't
really
a name that jumped out to me in terms of someone that I immediately recognise. So it'll be interesting. I mean, I'm still struggling with the handover of so many functions over to the ministry. It's like, is it Teaching Council? We haven't got any representation. Voted on democratically voted representation. I don't know.
I think it's going to be really interesting to see how much value people put in the Teaching Council now that something like the teaching standards have been removed.
Yeah.
And it's interesting how not having any elected people on the board changes your level of confidence around you can kind of reach out and feed back to the members of the council, because we're kind of under no illusion now that this is no longer a kind of independent body for the profession.
Just sort of feels like another regulatory entity now. Like, it's funny. I sort of like nearly stopped thinking about them because it doesn't feel like they exist in the same way as they once did. It's interesting. I think it's going to be an interesting space to watch, for sure.
But I mean, when you build into the legislation that the minister can kind of fire them at any moment without reason, then it means that they're there to implement the minister's agenda, which kind of throws into kind of question the value and kind of reaching out to them to kind of feedback what's going on in the sector. It's I think this whole facade around independence is just completely gone. And I don't know, without the standards, I'm not sure what would really feed back on, really.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to think of the grounds on which you'd sort of engage with them. I mean, I know they still do some professional development type stuff. And to be fair, the team that do the professional development are great at the Teaching Council. And they've always worked really hard to do great webinars. But it feels like as an entity they've become one of the many regulatory bodies that we have in the education space. It's interesting, It's just changed the tenor completely. But I tell you, one of the things I'm really looking forward to seeing, like we had that AI report that came out from Aero in the last week that came out through AI, through Aero, gave the sort of recommendations that we need in national framework. It was a good report, I have to be fair. It sort of made some sensible recommendations and pretty much was a reflection of the range of things that we're seeing in our schools and the way that it's pretty much been left to schools to work out how to manage it themselves. So It was a good report, and it was good to see that out in the wild. But the thing I'm really interested in is seeing where the social media ban policy lands, because my understanding was we were going to get it at the end of July. So I feel like for some reason it's slowed down. Like, I'm sure the word on the street, possibly even out in public, was that we were going to get that policy announcement in late July, and it's gone a little bit quiet.
Yeah, my understanding was that the initial delay had something to do with a national backbencher putting in a similar bill as a private member's bill. And my understanding is that you can't be discussing two similar pieces of legislation at the same time. And so something happened there. But then in the last week, we had those stories come out around how Reuben Davidson from the Labour Party was invited to the Minister of Education's office to view the legislation, but couldn't take it away. And that's the first time I've ever heard around this idea around trying to get agreement from another political party on policy, but there being like super secretness around what's in it. For starters, and this will just be this will be my ignorance, but for the life of me, I can't understand what would be in legislation that meant that it couldn't be shared in a draft form, other than just kind of like politics. But yeah, I mean, that's going to be really interesting to see how it goes. One that everyone's talking about is that Australia are probably about 18 months ahead on this path, and the UK has just announced that they're doing the same in France as well.
Yeah.
One of the funny stories I remember about the Australian experience is that the social media ban has come in at the same time that you've seen this like emergence of like e-scooters and e-bikes. And so now we've got these like hundreds of kids prowling the streets.
Oh man, marauding out in the wilds.
Yeah, and they're kind of like ripping up golf courses and stuff like that, and all of the old folks are trying to get them all back inside on their devices so they can be playing golf in peace.
It's quite funny. We've got a real, I don't know if it's down your way in the regions, but we've definitely got a bit of a bike culture emerging here as well, which is actually not connected to the social media ban. So maybe we're early adopters on the bike front, because there's definitely gangs of youths on bicycles in different parts of Auckland, and I kind of like. I mean, I don't approve of any threatening behaviour if that happens, but actually, for the most part, I find it bloody refreshing to find a whole lot of people out on their bicycles, hanging out, and getting out and getting some fresh air. Sort of, I mean, yeah, they clearly video it, and it's a thing and it's a gathering, but there's a lot worse things that they could be doing with their time. I think it's quite heartening. But what I do find really interesting about this, and I wonder if part of the pause or part of the slowing down of the process, is that there was a whole lot of excitement about the Australia social media ban and people around the world following it. We're getting more and more reports day in, day out that it simply isn't working. Like 4 out of 5 young people are still getting on those sites. All of the young people say, well, no one's checked. Like there's no one actually at the other end regulating the ban. And so it's supposed to be like I'm a young person. I'm not 16. I'm not going to look. Because actually, it seems like that there's actually no teeth whatsoever to this social media ban. And even if there was teeth, there was always going to be some people being concerned about the negative impacts that this has for some parts of our community as well. So I do wonder if it's a case of, there's a few things at the moment that are slowing down. The stuff around vocational education, the stuff around the secondary qualifications, the stuff around the social media ban. Like, I think we're getting to the sticky end of things where things are actually not as easy to roll out as maybe people first thought. And I wonder if having, as we get closer to it, it's going to be an interesting time, because I think in terms of our reforms that are underway, are we coming to the tail end before election? And then will it be about election policy announcements? Because I was thinking of what there is left to roll out.
Corporal punishment in schools.
Restorative boot camps.
Yeah. Hey, just going back to the under 16 ban, and you'll know more about this than me. But one of the promising groups I heard was I read was around the kind of 10 to 12-year-olds that haven't engaged in social media yet.
Yeah.
And that their likelihood to get connected on now that the ban is in place, because so rightly or wrongly, that's given parents a huge amount of confidence to go, actually, I don't want to be the stick in the mud parent.
Yeah.
I'm allowed to have it. And so for the next generation
Actually,
through, it might be better.
And it wasn't the ACT Party. Did I imagine this? Am I hallucinating? That they had a policy about banning smartphones for under 14 or under 16?
Yeah, that's
I
right.
feel like that got floated somewhere.
That is 100% in the same camp of this new physical restraint on kids policy, because I mean, it's ironic it's coming from the party of kind of individual freedom.
Yeah, who aren't actually a fan of the social media ban.
Parental responsibility. But actually, I can think of really obvious uses as to why we would want some type of communication tool in the hands of kids from the age of kind of 12 upwards. And I've always been really
I think you're allowed to give them a dumb phone. I think you're allowed to give them the Nokia flip top. Hey, that's what they're which, I actually don't think is a bad thing. And I must admit, one thing I really I'm really enjoying at the moment. So people that know me know that I've been a long time proponent of technology education, particularly when it's used for universal design for learning and making learning more accessible, particularly for our neurodivergent learners or those that need different interventions and supports. What I'm really enjoying at the moment is having really crunchy AI conversations at work and screen time conversations that aren't about mandates and absolute black and white rules, but having more and more conversations about what that sort of braided river of online and offline effective pedagogy. Do you know what I think we're ripe for, Liam? Is a good old best evidence synthesis. I think it's time to bring back the best evidence synthesis for effective pedagogies in the technical age. I would just love for us to actually stop talking about mandates and start talking about a synthesis of the evidence that's out there of all of the strategies and interventions and approaches that work both online and offline. Is that asking for too much?
No, I love that. To be honest, the first thing that came to my mind was that the best evidence synthesis is one of those things that means an awful lot to educators, but
everyone else goes, what? Best. What's the best?
People still hold on to that. I really like that idea around thinking about the areas that we would want to see that come to fruition now. And I really hope we do separate out all of the noise around technology so that we can have those nuanced conversations.
Yeah. It can't be simplistic. And
my fear is that if we don't get onto those nuanced conversations now and
it'll
start
become reactionary.
Effective device use, effective screen time, then I think we are going to end up going backwards because people are just going to go, it's too hard, let's just ban it. Let's just
and we'll see it in assessments as well. Absolutely, 100%. Hey, but we've waffled on for way too long and we've left the most important thing to last.
More important
because we've got some big news for people. We have got, the countdown is on. How many days until the 20th of August? I believe it's less than 3 weeks.
I know. It's on its way.
So people, by now, you might have already seen in your inbox, you might have seen online, we have the most exciting event of August coming up in 2.5 weeks. 2 weeks on Thursday, 20th of August. We have a very, very exciting launch. Liam, take it away. What are we launching?
Well, we are meeting the call that educators have been talking about for a long time around needing to establish a long-term bipartisan education plan for Aotearoa. And so we have commissioned this report to be written, and we are super excited of it being launched on 20th of August of this month. And while it might feel like it's kind of close to the election, is the report around influencing the election? It genuinely isn't. This is us thinking about how can we have a conversation across educators in Aotearoa to develop that kind of common language, common vocab, common belief around what is it that we want that kind of long-term vision for Aotearoa to look like. before we start to build support across political parties. And so when you see it, you will notice straight away that it isn't a kind of policy prescription around what would need to be implemented in the first month, 12 months. Bit of back.
Yes, sorry. And it's off in the distance, so I can't do anything about it. So
no worries at all. Well, anyway, this is going to be a report that isn't going to be a one-hit wonder. We are going to be coming back to it. And as AEC, it is a report that we're going to be using to develop our positions from moving forward. We're really excited about getting it out there and people providing feedback. But you are going to have to wait another 2.5 weeks until the 20th of August before you can get your hands on it. But for people in Auckland,
have we got a deal for you? So on 8:30 a.m. on the 20th of August at the University of Auckland, we are going to be hosting a face-to-face networking breakfast and launch of the fantastic Education, the Future of Education in Aotearoa report. We're going to be celebrating Dr. Claire Coleman, who has been working with us on that report, and Rose Hipkins, who has been in there behind the scenes lending support as well, along with our AEC Action Group. And we also have a very special guest. So Anthony Mackay, who is those of you who are in the education space and have been around for a while, you might recognize the name. He is literally the man about town in the education space. When he's not in Australia working, he's in Europe working with the OECD. He used to have the innovation unit in the UK. He's worked with NCEE in America. He is one of those people that for many years has worked with jurisdictions around the world to develop policies, to develop their direction of travel, and to support their educational decision makers around the globe. So he has been privy to an advanced copy, and he's going to be joining us online to give him some of his sort of reflections on what he sees in the report and how it lines up and shapes up with the direction of travel around the globe. So in your inbox, if it isn't there already, or go over to Facebook or to Substack and make sure you sign up and join us, because we're going to be there. Dr. Claire Coleman will be there, Rose Hipkins and the fantastic AEC Education Group. The invitation will be going out to our minister, to all of our education spokespeople, to all of our reporters, all of our friends at the Ministry of Education. But we also want you there. We want our leaders and our teachers and our learning support staff. If you can twist the arm and get someone to let you to come along, 8:30, 20th of August, it's going to be the place to be. It's going to be an exciting morning, isn't it, Liam?
Very much so. Tickets are free, and there'll be a little bit of breakfast floating around that morning as well.
A bit of breakfast and a bit of networking and a whole lot of connection.
Perfect. Well, Claire, I think that has come to the end of our list. What are you looking forward to most about this week?
I'm interested in seeing what's lying ahead. I'm honestly interested to see if the social media ban stuff lands. I'm hoping people are going to react to Paul Henry. I'm hoping it's not just left to us. And, at this point, can I give a shout out to Lawrence Yunnan? I mean, talk about bad behavior. The fact that he had to put up with ridiculous racist slop coming out of Winston Peters' mouth, and Paul Henry. I really hope we start expecting more. What's the saying? You've got to know better and do better. And quite frankly, it is a race to the bottom with some of our wannabe MPs and current MPs at the moment. No space for racism, no space for sexism, and no space for talking about our young people in the way that Paul Henry did. So I think we've got to I want to see a bit of reflection on how we're speaking about each other and the way we're addressing people. Because quite frankly, that's not the country that, I know and love in New Zealand. This is not our values. We need to do better. That's what I want. I want New Zealand to do better this week.
Yeah. Although it is a bit frustrating when you can have a Prime Minister acknowledge that the comments are racist, but also recognise that they still need to be the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Hey, I don't want to undercut that really important message, but ironically today I went to Armageddon and Pani with the kids, And
You would have seen Lawrence there.
The Green Party had a stall there, and
They love Armageddon. They're all over Armageddon all the time.
That's right. They have really captured that part of the political spectrum. The Armageddon conventions.
Oh, that must have been an absolute highlight for you, Liam. Well, I hope you're going to have a good. What are you looking forward to this week as we close?
What am I looking forward to this week?
Sending our launch invites out, seeing those people sign up.
Yeah. Well, it's always tempting.
Oh, learning on tap. That's what you're going to look forward to.
Yes.
People engaging with learning on tap.
This is the issue: is that AEC is growing so quickly. There are so many different things popping off. One that I'm really looking forward to is we are going to be creating these online book clubs for educators that want to come together to connect around professional issues. I'm looking forward to getting something about that underway this week because I think it's going to be a very cool opportunity.
Yeah, and I'd love to hear back from people around if you've seen the Learning on Tap with Trish Grant from IHC is now live as well, and those are a bit more of a deep dive. You know, the reality is we just keep doing too much. But for everyone that's still here with us, I just wish you the most glorious week 3, term 3. Kaki day.
Kaki panel.